content herein is for informational purposes only, not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and is not to be substituted for direct advice from your doctor.
Today's LymphCast program is proudly sponsored by VitaSupport MD, the makers of Vein Formula 1000 and Lymphatic Formula 1000. These MPFF-based nutraceuticals are backed by science and recommended by doctors specializing in venous and lymphatic disorders. Visit VitaSupportMD.com to learn more.
Well, greetings and welcome to our LymphCast show. Believe it or not, episode 70. That's right, the big 70. And on tonight's show, we will talk to the Chief Operating Officer from Sun Scientific. They are an innovative product manufacturer for venous, lymphatic, and wound conditions. We'll get to that in just a moment. You can find everything about this show at our website, lymphcastnetwork.com. If you'd like to help support the show, you can buy us a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/LymphCastNetwork. But here's the big ask for tonight. We would like you to go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. The more people who subscribe, the more people who have access to the show, and more patients and medical field people will be helped. Just go to YouTube, type in LymphCast Podcast, the show will come up. Hit the subscribe button. It'll take you about 3 seconds, and we appreciate that very much. Tonight's show is sponsored by VitaSupport MD. They make Lymphatic Formula 1000 and Vein Formula 1000. And co-sponsor Sun Scientific, leaders in patient-friendly wound care and compression. Dr. Glavitsky is here. Dr. Eicher is here. Dr. John Chubak is here. We're ready to go. I will hand it over to the CEO of the Chubak Medical Group, Dr. Diane Chubak. Diane, it's all yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul. So today's LymphCast, we're taking a little bit of a turn. We've had a lot of wonderful surgeons, a lot of patients, all bringing and bearing amazing information for this community of lymphatic disease sufferers and venous disease sufferers. I love the idea now that we are representing the industry. And so today's LymphCast is centered around medical products that just make life easier and what innovations that industry is bringing. As you know, as awareness of lymphedema and lymphatic and venous disorders are becoming more prevalent and people are becoming properly diagnosed, they're wanting more and more education, wanting more and more products that will help them, live a better life. So today we're introducing Vikram Ravikumar, if I
Got it.
very correctly. And as Paul mentioned, Vikram is the CEO of Sun Scientific, a very innovative company who has brought about some really interesting compression products for venous lymphatic disease and for wound care management. So we welcome you, Vikram. We want to know all about you. We want to know about your company, how it started, because I think that's a really important aspect of learning about products is the industry and what sort of prompted the innovations and why the company came together to begin with. I want you to talk about your dad because I know he was a big part of it as a vascular surgeon, and then go into talking about how you broke into this community, the type of education you give patients, talking about your products and the accessibility of the products, which of course is very important. As we know in today's society, there are differences in accessibility to products and to certain care. So we'd love to know how Sun Scientific is innovating in that way as well. So Vikram, please take it away. Just tell us a little bit more about yourself and Sun Scientific.
Thank you, Diane. And Dr. Chubak, Dr. Eicher, Dr. Levicki, thank you as well for having us on here. And to the LymphCast, to the entire network out there, it's our pleasure to be a part of it. And really our background, it's really interesting how you're talking about so much of clinician, surgeon-led education and now how industry, it's good to kind of get the industry perspective. I think my background is really in that exact same way where I'm really fortunate. I luckily enough kind of was, I don't want to say born into it, but stumbled upon, innovation that was really clinician led. And you see so many, my dad's a vascular surgeon. He's still practicing, a solo practitioner. And he's one of those practitioners, like so many surgeons and doctors out there, that are always, they see where there's a need. If they are well connected with their patient, they hear where the patients have struggles. They know surgically where they have struggles. They see where there are gaps in the market. And rather than taking an approach of, well, that's always the way things have been done, to take a more proactive approach of, well, we're going to do things to better. And so I've been really fortunate where Sun Scientific was basically started in the basement of his medical clinic. And it was myself, an R&D engineer, and my dad in scrubs, looking like Dr. Chubak now, running up and down, and just being like, my patient's this, my patient's that. And one of the big things for us actually started outside of the lymphedema per se, and it was really around venous ulcers. One of the big North Stars for us was seeing venous ulcer patients historically have been getting Uniboots, getting wraps, and seeing how working class patients who have jobs, had a really tough time in terms of quality of life, managing themselves. So they couldn't shower, they couldn't do dressing change themselves. When he's doing a bandage change in a small room, the waft of the smell coming off is not only unpleasant, obviously, in that one moment, but the patient has to deal with that for days at a time. And that's really disruptive for people's dignity and their quality of life. And, our North Star was really, and this was just a kind of a project, is what if venous ulcer patients could shower? And when we broke it down, we said, okay, well, people need to apply good compression. People need to be able to apply drainage management and dressings easily. And when we started to kind of put those pieces together, it really started building the foundation of Sun Scientific today, because we realized, wait a second, compression is beyond just wound care, right? There's preventative care for compression, for venous lymphatic swelling disease. There's the wound aspect. There's more advanced disease. And there's a huge unmet need when it comes to the different modalities, especially when it comes to compression therapy, from preventative care to chronic conditions to acute care. So it was really starting with innovative doctors seeing a patient unmet need, and then just coming up with ideas and trying to see what works.
Well, that's extremely important, and I love, that approach that is going between the physician and patient, because that's how you progress in the medical field, actually, for whatsoever treatment. First, you need to see what does the patient need. And you are absolutely right that this compression that everybody in our specialty considers as a key element of the treatment of patients with venous disorders, and particularly in advanced venous disorders. It's just painful. It's terrible. It's so difficult to do it properly, to have a good strength of compression, and to maintain that strength. And I think I admire your initiative, because that's what the patients need, really, truly. And now, I wanted to ask you something, so your background, it's not medical. Are you related in a way to some kind of the engineering, or maybe you have that skills, like in some people are really gifted in imagining and inventing new things.
Yeah, I'll say I'm not an engineer by trade. I definitely was a Lego kid, so I do like to put things together and imagine what are new shapes and forms. I think also creativity and entrepreneurship is, to some part, it is part of the environment too. So I was very fortunate to be around a highly skilled and a clinician be around engineers that knew good design for manufacturing, and being in that environment where new ideas are being created. We could see some artwork behind me. I know you're an artist. The idea about that creativity and coming up with taking, basic form factors and coming up with new ideas and having the, I guess it's not being afraid of failure, of really being able to try something new. I think those are some of my backgrounds where I've been very fortunate to have some basic engineering mindset, but really think about things holistically, because, we've been at this for quite a while, coming up with new products. And sometimes you find out there are things that patients need. There's sometimes you find, oh my God, why is there not a solution here? And I think the other side of it is the patient access and the educational portion. That has been a tough experience to learn repeatedly, is that if there is not good reimbursement, if there's not good education and diagnosis, if there's not an easy way for patients and clinicians to utilize a product, no matter how good that product is, the idea is limited until there is kind of a market aspect to it as well. And so that's, as an industry person who's seen kind of the creation, but also the commercialization, I think that's an important topic to talk about, in my opinion, is that so much of the treatments out there are determined by access to the and payer access.
Yes. So how long you started the company? Tell us.
Yeah, so it's been about 15 years. And
15 years.
we had done, initially we were doing we built a surgical instrument company. We did percutaneous laparoscopy. And then we built, again, from the basement, started with one instrument. We eventually sold that business. But on the side, we were developing some of the technology that eventually became Sun Scientific. So I'll say, in earnest, it's been really the last 7-8 years where this technology really we have been working on it and bringing it to market.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Then I think talking about the compression, you are the best person to maybe to list what you would consider as a really ideal compression, and maybe you should correspond with what you are proposing to patients.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. A big thing is meeting patients where they are. And that is one thing that we really were seeing, was that there's a very disjointed treatment for patients, because a patient may have chronic swelling, or they may have a wound, or they may have, that really advanced lymphedema. And it may be the same patient at a different point of their treatment cycle. And one thing we were seeing is that the products and compression, compression is universally needed, but the compression products were very different, and the treatment sites of service were very different. So, stocking versus a multi-layer bandage versus a lymphedema pump, there's not one company that does all three. There's not one site of service where patients kind of receive all three. The payment models for all three are different. So when we think about it is, there's a lot of emotional labor that patients have to understand technology and utilize it. And they were really having products where there were difficulties for all three. So stockings require hand strength, and they maybe aren't inelastic enough for some of the advanced disease. Bandages are not self-applied, and pumps are not mobile. And so when we really looked at the holistically, we're seeing, well, the patients, we talk so much about poor patient compliance, and the way that we really want to address that is to come up with products that meet the patient where they are modular and adjustable to what that patient needs in that moment. But it's a common compression set across the board. And so, that's really where our Aero Wrap technology kind of started, was, and I actually have one here. It's a Velcro-on device. And so, we know that Velcro is just a lot easier for patients to put on on their legs or wherever the swelling is. But rather than have a short stretch juxtaposed Velcro system that requires multiple different straps that have to be pulled to the right tension. What we did is we created an entirely inelastic garment that we could set the pressure with a little very simple hand pump air gauge that has safety valves built in. So patients can simply turn the dial. It has a safety valve so they cannot be overinflated. All they would need to do is plug it in and pump it up. And it sets it to the accurate pressure. And once they remove it, it holds the air. And so what's great is that patients can easily apply it. They can easily apply the proper compression. And then as the swelling comes down, they can always reinflate and maintain that proper compression day in, day out, because good compression reduces edema. But unless you have something that is readjustable, the product will be looser and start to slide down the leg. And that's something we see with rolling stockings or sliding bandages. Also, because we use air, we can also now all of a sudden use this as an intermittent pneumatic device with the same very simple form-fitting leg garment as well.
So after how many hours the patients need to readjust the pressure?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for us, we look at it in there's the decongestive phase and more the maintenance phase. So if somebody has a lot of swelling and they have a decongestive therapy phase, they will be very responsive to compression. And so in those cases, we say probably 4 or 5 times a day, maybe every 2 hours, to reapply compression. Because we have a safety valve, there's no risk. You don't have to read a dial or anything. They can simply plug it back in, give it a few squeezes. There's no risk to it being overinflated. And so the idea is rather than just having really good compression at application that changes over time to an unknowable amount, patients have now a tool that within their own hands, they can get the right compression and they keep that right compression even as the swelling reduces.
So the Aero Wrap, Vikram, beyond the Aero Wrap, you have other enhanced compression. Can you tell us a little bit about the next product?
Yeah, absolutely. So Aero Wrap to us is really that kind of core technology where it's Velcro on static compression. And really that's a product that's really good for chronic edema and even wound care. But there's going to be times where patients also will need to have that external kind of biomimicry of intermittent pneumatic compression. And that is our Aero DVX device. And the idea with that is, some of the advanced lymphedema products that are out there, the multi-chamber, are incredible. And for many patients, it is the absolute requirement for them to kind of move that lymph fluid and actually get it out there. We really use our Aero DVX for the patient who's more mobily minded. So it is a simple battery-operated device that plugs into the same garment as Aero Wrap, and that will intermittently pump, allowing you to do mobile battery-operated, basically not stuck to the wall intermittent therapy, but also use the aero gauge as well, so it can be used in that static form, so that it actually can be mobile during the day and intermittent at times of rest. So for us is, so many people, that hour in the morning, hour in the evening can be quite limiting when it comes to pneumatic compression or intermittent pneumatic compression. And we're trying to really untether the intermittent portion and allow it to work within the day as patients find it's most useful. And then I'll say I'm sorry, Dr. Eicher, I saw.
Oh, so sorry. I had to run to see a patient. However, I would love to, because lower extremity lymphedema patients are different than upper extremity. Do you incorporate the foot part?
We do. So we have one of the things that we've really worked on is we started with just a below knee product and trying to basically find out what are the optimal places where we can take the technology we've developed and how we can incorporate it to patients' lives. So actually, if you could see right behind me, I know the podcast listeners won't see it, but we have a full leg product now as well. And what's really nice about our full leg product is we've done it in a modular fashion so that we can go from the foot to the calf, to the knee, and above the knee with all separately sized and shaped products that come together as a single system. And the idea is that we can really get the optimal compression to each different site. So one thing that we've done, what we're seeing is one of our most popular full leg models is we use a short stretch Velcro wrap for the foot and for the knee portions. And we use our Air for the calf and the thigh. And we do that combination of the different compression modalities. And why we're finding it works so well is short stretch is a great containment system, right? So as the foot and the knee, there's not a lot of musculature there, but that's places where you do not want to, you want to contain swelling from going into and really move it along. Air inelastic compression from the Aero Wrap is phenomenal for doing very high static stiffness compression. And that's very effective for when there's musculature and you want to move a dorsiflexion or a calf muscle or a thigh muscle inward to push on the deep system to move fluid out. And so with this combination of short stretch and air, what we're able to is have mobility, flexibility, and containment where there's not a lot of musculature, and air compression where there's a lot of musculature. And we get the best of both worlds. And patients have a product that they can walk around with, is comfortable, and is totally flexible.
Wonderful. So, can you have like the pneumatic compression while walking, or you need to rest with that?
Yeah, no, it is possible to do it while walking, but what we've really seen is the for patients who are ambulating, high inelastic compression is probably the most effective because we can take the body's own movements and move that force inward to have that high ejection velocity, that high deep venous lymphatic congestion clearing up if we can move the calf muscle inward. And the way to do that is, right, with elastic yarn, what ends up happening if it stretches, that you lose that force outward into the garment. With our product and with air, what's really nice is it feels comfortable. But when the calf muscle pushes out, it gets more rigid, and that actually forces the musculature inward. And so we can get a similar feeling of an intermittent pump without having to use the pump if the patient's ambulating. So yes, it's possible, but it does a great job just in the static mode alone when patients are walking around that it's not needed.
Because there is also aspect, specifically for the patient that needs to work. Like imagine somebody who is a sitting position in the work or standing. I mean, in theory, your product could be very helpful if this is like combination between the usual and pneumatic compression.
No, I absolutely appreciate. Yes, I think really for independent-minded patients, and then actually one of the key patients that I remember meeting when we were young, I was again very fortunate where my dad would say, "Come up to this patient's room," and he would ask, "Hey, can my son come in?" I would come in, and there was a firefighter, a local firefighter in the village here that our business is based. We're based just outside of New York City in Westchester. And he was saying, it's really tough for me to come if I'm on shift at the firehouse to come and he had a venous ulcer, and it was very tough to leave during the shift. And it's like, well, this is the perfect person who is capable of, with the right tools, capable of managing their condition. But they really didn't have the tools to treat that underlying swelling or the drainage. And so really that's a lot of what we've been trying to do is take the skill and the art of bandaging and compression and make it into the science of a simple device that's wearable and really anybody can manage.
And I look at your long leg sleeve and like the attachment on the hip part. Does that have any compression?
So Dr. Riker, I think one of the things that right there is just a simple belt D-loop attachment. Okay. And I think one of the things that we've really what's been really fascinating is to see how lymphedema, there's not one lymphedema, there's not one morphology that patients see. And so realizing, okay, we have a great canvas, we have a great product that treats so much, right? It's a very good 85%. But now there are all these different ways that we see that, there's patients with the pannus, there's patients with different pockets of lymphedema, where we're now starting to expand our offering to have more of this accessories that go around it. So, when we started, we were just below the knee. We added to the full leg. We've actually started working on a suspender version because there's some patients with a very large gut where the belt maybe doesn't fit. We have an upper extremity. So, we'd love to get that kind of feedback where this is such a great product for many, many patients, but there's little nuances and specifics where it's easy enough for us to kind of have it so that it fits each individual patient.
At Sun Scientific, we're transforming lives with patient-focused solutions for chronic venous and lymphatic disease, wound care, and more. Our Aero Wrap compression garments are changing the standard of care, delivering easy application, precision adjustments, and effective compression without the struggle of traditional stockings or wraps. Lightweight and ultra-thin, Aero Wrap offers all-day comfort and is available in multiple sizes and configurations for targeted relief wherever it's needed. For advanced therapy, Aero DVX combines static and intermittent compression in one garment, enhancing circulation and patient compliance. And for chronic wounds, our ExuCare products deliver dignity and simplicity to everyday care, simplifying wound management while prioritizing patient comfort throughout their healing journey. Sun Scientific, where clinical innovation meets compassionate care. Learn more at aero-wrap.com.
I think that's truly the issue, and especially like the stockings are very good for the whole leg, but usually you have the issue how to hold them. So they are several ways, but what I found that many patients are complaining about the upper part of the stocking, that it's really uncomfortable and like the irritating the skin, because you need to hold on the upper part of the thigh, and that's not an easy task indeed.
Yeah. No, and I think that again goes back to that holistic approach for us, which is meeting the patient along their treatment journey where they are, and then giving them the tools to maximize their compliance. And so even with our full leg, it is one system, but it's separately modular. So one thing that we've continually heard is with the stockings is that the thigh high is optimal, but the compliance rates drop significantly. And there's just some times where patients want to remove the thigh portion. And so with one of the things that was a big design for us was, okay, even with our full leg, we have it so that they can remove the thigh portion and still have compression, from the foot up to the knee or even covering the knee as well. And then can add back compression to the thigh when they're ready for that. So really giving patients that modularity, giving patients independence and power to empower their own treatment is critical. We've been very fortunate that the education around lymphedema has gotten a lot better. There's obviously a long way to go. And then I think obviously the Lymphedema Treatment Act, which is the congressional act that now has really made its way into Medicare and many commercial payers, has been a huge benefit to the patients and to products like ours to really make it easier for patient access with simpler diagnosis. So it's easier for clinicians to make it available and integrate it to their practices and really think about how do we intervene and manage patients earlier in their disease pathway rather than waiting until they're the worst of the worst until we can get them treatment.
According to the regulations, it's not so simple because now we are bombarded with paperwork. So the patients can have a $10 or $20 less copay on the compression stockings. Now, practical question, what is the price?
That's a great question. I'll say that for us, almost 90-something% of our patients are getting it covered through their insurance, often through the Lymphedema Treatment Act. And so with that, it's, even out of those, at least half have a secondary insurance, and there often is no out-of-pocket cost for patients. And they're, for at least for Medicare, that means they can get 3 garments per affected area every 6 months. Our retail price, let's say somebody doesn't have insurance, our retail price is $175 is our list price. We often discount below that for our below knee garment. But the idea is really, how do we educate to get this to the appropriate patients covered by their insurance? And so, because we know that this is really a lifetime disease, that more utilization, more compliance means that overall patients will have a happier life, better quality of life, and as a healthcare system overall, we'll save money by not having the progressive disease get worse.
And how do you proceed with the cleaning of your product?
No, that's a great question. So with our product, it comes with the integrated removable liner. So one of the nice things about that is it looks like a sock, but it's really just a very stretchy underliner. So there's no compression on it. But because it's removable, that's washable. And so they can wash that underliner. They can change the underliner every day with the different garments. And our device itself is made out of a nylon. So with a damp cloth and mild detergent, it can just be wiped down and it dries very quickly.
Now, and one of the things that I should mention, having used this device in my patients very successfully, and I encourage everybody who's listening, for our audience, if you are listening to the podcast, as Vikram had mentioned, I really strongly encourage that you watch this particular episode on our YouTube channel, because you're going to be able to see him demonstrate all of these products. I think it's very important how he showed how the valve, which I think is ingenious, the pressure gauge pump, which cannot be overinflated. He shows that in today's program. He shows you the below knee, the above knee, and the waistband attachment for the thigh high. So it's very important, if you're interested in this, that you see all of those things. But having used this product for a couple of years now in my own practice, the sleeve that goes under the garment, what I don't know if Dr. Eicher is familiar or not, but what's so great about it, it's not a compression stocking. It almost looks like one, but it's not. It's a very, very low pressure, soft, beautiful material. You can see how he's demonstrating it now, that easily slips on and off and is connected to the outer part of the device, so that the patient can slip that sleeve on, the undersleeve. Do you call it an undersleeve, Vikram? How do you describe it? Was it sock? It's easier to bring on than a regular knee-high sock, like a men's dress sock. That's how soft and pliable that undersock is. So they have, even patients who have arthritis in the hands and weakness in the hands, like so many of our patients do, unfortunately, as long as they can reach it, they should have no problem sliding that on. And then the other thing that was mentioned earlier is the short stretch foot covering, which brings me back to the late great Dr. Hugo Parch, that I know Monica and Emily have very fond memories of, and his teachings for so many years, the value of a short stretch bandage in those circumstances. But what makes it so great, Emily, is that the patients can still typically wear a normal shoe, albeit maybe a little bit loosened or larger. But as opposed to if you had an actual air bladder on and around the dorsum of the foot and around the foot circumference generally, as you know, it becomes a major hindrance in terms of ambulation and mobility. So I think it's a tremendous combination of technologies and materials that make it so practical and useful and usable on a day-to-day basis for the patient. Nothing like it. I've never seen anything else like it.
And Dr. Chubak, it's appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, I think it's certainly extremely important, and I think that many patients certainly will appreciate it. And I have a little anecdote with Vikram that I allow myself to say. We are, of course, being physicians and going to the congresses of different medical meetings. We meet people from industry and so on. But what really surprised me and very pleasantly that Vic was actually all the time in the meeting room. And when I first met you during the meeting, and it was absolutely fabulous because in one of this meeting, they had a patient who was coming and was examined on the podium by several physicians, and everybody was like kind of bringing the diagnosis. What should we do? What is the solution for this man? And it happened to be actually quite young man with the several issue of the in the past of the deep vein thrombosis with the post-thrombotic syndrome, which is venous disease caused by the venous thrombosis. And well, actually, what you can do in this situation, what you can offer, it's only the medication and the compression therapy. And I have seen Vic running to his stand, and in the moment, the patient was already told, oh, we should apply the compression and the medication and this and that. Vic was just bringing the product to the patient, and it was absolutely fabulous because it was so nice for everybody, and principally for the patient to have the immediate solution. And I commend you for this.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's I always like to say feeling is believing, and I've been again really fortunate to come from a physician family, and I love being in the meetings because people are talking about controversies and then new ideas and techniques, and that is really, I think, so much of there are millions of people's lives that improve from the hard work that happens over decades of people's clinical careers. And for me, it's always a pleasure that I get to play some small part of learning from others and then trying to find ways that I can be a part of improving the lives and improving care for somebody else. And in that case, I always think feeling is believing. So for me, it's always, if I get a demo with somebody, I always ask them, can I throw this on your leg? It takes me 5 seconds. But also when people can feel the compression and that is comfortable, it's lightweight, it feels good, that's great. And then nothing feels better than actually putting on a patient where the feedback is, oh my God, I can put this on, or oh my God, this doesn't pinch like XYZ does. And oh, I can actually put on my shoe and they can walk off that stage with jeans and sneakers on, and with really high quality compression. It's, that's what we do this for.
Vikram, I have a question about, like clinical studies. So, for instance, there are certain metrics, right, to monitor improvement, and wound care in particular, right, time to healing. Can you give us a little information about that, just regarding your wound care related product?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll take a step back where I had mentioned we have the Aero Wrap for static compression. We have our Aero DVX, which adds the intermittent component alongside static compression. We've come up with a whole suite of products around wound care. One of our hero products, I'd like to say, is our ExuCare. And, for those listening and for those who may not know about the product, for lack of a better term, we like to call it the leg diaper, because that's literally, it's a preformed gel fiber that just pops on and it has peel tabs like a diaper, meaning that it covers the whole leg. You don't have adhesive on the leg itself. It sticks to itself, but it actually takes drainage and soaks it up. And the idea for us is, again, how do we have a product that anybody can apply in a matter of seconds, but also do the portion of high quality care? We have some different dressings. So we have some air bolster dressings where we add pressure. We have air offloader pressures where we can actually, for bedbound patients, can offload like in the sacrum. And we just have a lot of different devices where we're managing drainage, we're managing pressure through material science and air. And I think that's just a lot of what we've developed. When it comes to the studies out there, the evidence, but we've always taken an approach of, we're not inventing new treatments, right? So we're trying to come up with great product solutions that address the tried and true techniques. So let's say for our multi-layer bandaging or Una boots and compression bandaging, it's the standard of care because you need to have good drainage management, wound dressing, drainage management, compression therapy. And rather than having a modality with a bandage that is not easily applied or maintained or can be done by the patient, we break it apart. And so we say, okay, compression we'll do with Aero Wrap, drainage management we'll do with ExuCare, our wound dressing we can do with a variety of products, or, there's so many products out there. So what we've really focused on is non-inferiority studies to show that we're at least as effective. So we've done that against the 4-layer bandaging and 3-layer modified Una boot to show at least wound closure rates, edema reduction, pain reduction is at least as good as that, with the added benefit of, patients could do it themselves and shower and maintain it. So to us, it's as long as we're clinically at least as good, there's so many added benefits of doing it. I'd say a lot of the studies that we've done in recent times is really to look at some of the added benefits of the technology we've developed. So one of them was we looked at a multi-center study looking at the static stiffness and compression modalities. So again, to us is, I think we understand how important compression is, and that we now have better understanding. Dr. Parch, obviously, Dr. Mosty, Dr. Lurie, they're all luminaries in terms of understanding compression science. And so we really wanted to do studies that allowed us to look at, well, what is the pressure accurate? Is the pressure inelastic? Does it have a good working to resting differential, right? The things that we know that for patients are actually going to equate to good outcomes. And we've done that for 2 ways. One is because I think there is a good understanding of what we know will work, as well as what are the kind of functional outcomes are needed. And also, being a startup, it's hard to do 200 patient wound studies. And so we really want to say, okay, we're going to piggyback off what we know is effective in good compression and put our hat in the ring and see how we compare to the standards out there.
So how many patients you included in those studies?
The non-inferiority study was a non-inferiority pilot, so it's 15 patients in our arm. The static stiffness study was published in Phlebology, and it was 30 patients in 3 different sites, but bilateral, so 60 limbs. And then we had done another subsection where we had done 15 volunteers, so 30 limbs at us compared to a leading short stretch Velcro device, looking at compression static stiffness index. So we've done, I'd say, a few different studies out there, anywhere from wound stuff to more compression outcomes over time.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'll jump in here now as the wearing my other hat, founder and owner at VitaSport MD with the MPFF based products and some other ingredients that we use in our dietary supplements. And I'm sort of in the same camp as Vic on a lot of this. Oftentimes, clinicians will ask, have you done studies on this or that and so forth? And generally, my answer, quite frankly, is these studies have already been done. My obligation, I feel, is to show that what we are presenting is what has been studied and is an equivalent product and so on and so forth. And our mission at VitaSport is about accessibility, which has been a huge part of the Sun Scientific mission as well, that patients could get these products. But the general principles of wound care, compression, static compression, et cetera, these principles have long been proven and in the books. I think it's, as a manufacturer and innovative company that you are, as you point out, I think the only, not the only, but the main pillar that you have to stand by, which of course you have, is to show that your devices are indeed providing that kind of pressure, static pressure, graduated pressure, et cetera, whatever the case may be based on the individual product. And then it seems to me sort of like Apple products versus, what would you call them? Android or, IBM, Microsoft based products, non-Mac products. Then, okay, we know that the personal computer works. We know that the microprocessor works. We know that there are different softwares, apps, and so forth. But Apple's big motivation over all these decades, I think, has been to build a better mousetrap, not to answer the question whether mice can be trapped or not. So just make a more user-friendly experience, a more intuitive experience, a more affordable experience, whatever that is, to maximize the excellence of the product. But the foundational principles, I think, have already been proven in these areas, quite frankly.
But sure, you have to prove with this kind of innovative device that it provides the same compression pressure.
Correct.
So that's true.
I totally agree. But
Well,
and
I agree.
and in that now I'm going to become a spokesman for Vic's company. In that case, I'm not aware of. That I shouldn't say that, but at least for, let's say, garments, just graduated compression garments. Of course, those companies put a lot of money into R&D to show that their garments produce the kind of compression they're supposed to. But in vivo on each patient, with tremendous variation in morphology, shape of the limb and the leg and the thigh to the calf and so on, the patient with severe, let's say, lipodermatosclerosis in the distal extremity versus the calf, it's very, very difficult to know. You're going on a big leap of faith that when you apply that stocking, let's call it, to that patient, that graduated pressure is having that kind of physiologic effect on that limb. But one of the things that I love about, and I'm not a paid spokesman or I have no skin in this game, but when I first saw it that I love so much, they work with engineers, mechanical engineers and biotech engineers, and that device has that pressure gauge that tells you in no uncertain terms what the pressure is. And there's that pressure gauge he's showing it, which I was really super impressed. And I love the fact that it's so simple and mechanical. There's something about me as an old guy that thinking of an old tire gauge, for example, whether it was my bicycle or my car or my football, that mechanical gauge, I trust every day of the week as compared to all of these digital devices that I'm not quite so sure. Not that they don't work, but I think it's a terrific. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, he says feeling is believing, but in that case, seeing is believing when you look at that gauge.
When I first saw it, I thought to myself, oh, how magnificently analog it is.
Yeah.
Everything's about digital. Everything's about, the chip and, some kind of LED screen and something read. But this is really, it's just so user-friendly and to the point.
Thank you. Yeah, and absolutely. I think Dr. Chubak, I think you understand from a product development standpoint and an entrepreneurial standpoint, but also somebody who is, we're dealing with clinicians. You have to make the right clinical judgment. I think you're absolutely right. We don't feel it's our job to prove that compression therapy, I think the people we're talking understand the benefits of compression therapy. And what we have done is invest to show that our compression is accurate and the right type of compression, and compared to the other products on the market, is very easy to apply, maintain, and giving the right type of difference. The static stiffness index the idea is that you can have something with a very high working pressure with a very comfortable and safe resting pressure, so that even though the patients, you can have confidence for a patient who has mixed, arterial venous disease, and they have, let's say a little bit restricted ADI, that you're not going to take a self-adhesive Coban and over torque this thing and apply compression that could be harmful. That's never the case in this. And so what's really nice is we can have confidence that this put in the hands of anybody can safely and accurately apply the right baseline pressure, but also because of the air that we use and the materials that we use, we can get that really high working pressure. And so we can treat that deep venous and lymphatic congestion as well.
Yeah. And I'm going to just chime in one more time. I just think it's terrific because, again, with all due respect and rest his soul to the great Hugo Parch and many others, we know very well that the application of that kind of short stretch or no stretch bandage or even medium stretch is very, very user dependent, requires a lot of experience and clinical sophistication that certainly left up to the patient would be quite useless and potentially harmful. And there have been some bandages that have this business of turning a rectangle into a square or vice versa, or an oval into a circle. And, it's interesting. But a manometer is a manometer. And that's, I think, a very ingenious development. And I think it's, quantitative, and the proof is before your eyes.
I have a question before I have to depart. I have a lot of patience for you, Vic. If you want to do studies, come to Santa Monica, or I'll give you the data on the patients. And I would love to have a sample of one below the knee gadget so I can show this to my patients, and then you will let me know how to order for the patients so they can have the great benefit of your device.
Dr. Riker, we would love that. Absolutely happy to get samples over to you. And for those on the YouTube who can see it, we have, some of our below knee and full leg mannequins that, for people who are using the products, it's a great way to demo. One thing, I would love to kind of just mention is, as a company, we're not just doing the product development. The patient access and the education is so critical. And so that's why things like these demo legs, like brochures in English and Spanish, are things that we develop, like having it so that we have medical concepts for the doctor, but also distilled down for patients, are things that we've really learned over time are critical, so that patients can understand how to use the device and why the device is important. And then, that education moving over to the access is one of the things that I say a lot of my time has been about for the last year and a half, with the passage of the Lymphedema Treatment Act, is educating a lot of clinicians about how to access these products, how to make them available for their patients. One of the things that we've invested in, or we built our own DME company. So we actually are able to take in prescriptions, process claims under patients' insurances, and have it delivered to them. We've also gotten an e-prescribing platform. So rather than having to do, print out and faxes and all these things, now we really allow it so that digital signatures, digital orders can get processed through as well. And so it's really, for us, it's about kind of thinking more holistically, and not just coming up with great products, but also making it something that patients know about and can receive under their insurance benefits.
At VitaSupport MD, we believe in creating the best bioflavonoid-based supplements to support your vitality. Bioflavonoids are found in abundance in nature and support excellent health and wellness. The demands and stresses being put on our bodies in these challenging times are unlike any we have seen before. Support your body with the flavonoids it needs to fight inflammation and oxidation. Unlike other products in the marketplace, VitaSupport MD dietary supplements use micronized flavonoids for optimal absorption and effectiveness. Micronization is an advanced process which creates an ultra-fine powder easily absorbed by the body. At VitaSupport MD, we are passionate about making your good health our life's work.
Do you mean that you can spare Dr. Eicher a lot of paperwork?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. The idea is excellent.
Well, speaking of ideas, I'll say one more thing before we kind of wrap it up here today. I think we're probably coming toward the end of our time, but one of the great things about the LymphCast podcast is bringing great people together and sharing ideas. And of course, the whole purpose is raising awareness and ultimately providing superior care for patients who are in need. And I do know that Dr. Eicher has for many years been sitting on a couple of really terrific ideas related to the space that Vikram is in. And I think it would be a very good thing for the two of them to discuss that offline to see if maybe her ideas and her dreams could finally, in the right hands, with a small enough company with enough resources, be brought into reality. That would be a wonderful thing to watch.
That'd be fantastic.
We'll meet soon.
Emily's got some great ideas. Really,
I would love to. And come to New York, and now that it's nice and sunny, and I'll make sure to come visit Santa Monica when we hit the wintertime again.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
and I want Monica to move to Santa Emily.
I am sorry I have to depart. So this is absolutely fantastic. And it was such a great joy to meet with you, Vic. And hopefully we'll meet in some sort of a conference soon.
And I think, Emily, you should try Vic's device personally and
I will.
give your feedback, because it would be a wonder. I think you would really be impressed with the experience, but I would love to hear what you have to say after trying it yourself, because Dr. Eicher does have lymphedema herself that she has been managing for many.
Unlike you, I started in the basement. No, I developed lymphedema first, and then I do have a patent on a pump, and it was very good, but it just did not materialize. I think I am better clinician than a business person, so we have to meet.
We have to meet. We're happy to get you products, and I'm happy to be that go-between between a great clinician and making those ideas reality.
I have one last question, if we could squeeze it in. I'd like to know where Sun Scientific is going. What's going to be happening in the next 5 to 10 years?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think, there's a lot of different places. I think we want to stay with our core of looking at the patient holistically. I think that we're still in our phase now where we want to make more people aware of our technology. Because a lot of times we go to these conferences, we see clinicians and they're asking, well, why have I never seen this before? And it's because, we're a small growing company. And so I think there's this initial phase of just making more awareness around our technology. I think one of the things that we really want to do is become leaders in education for the industry as a whole and for these patients and as a whole around lymphedema. And that, I'll say like my 2025 plan we have internally for the team, the title slide was lymphedema is everywhere, but often not seen. And it's really one of those things where, I think there's a huge opportunity with the new coverage out there there's purpose behind the education as well, where we can actually treat more patients and it's going to be less out-of-pocket costs for patients. They'll get earlier management. I think long-term is that holistic approach where becoming more specialized when it comes to the wound care side of things, more specialized when it comes to the phlebo-lymphedema side of things. I do think there's great opportunity to getting more patient feedback, clinician feedback around, compliance and utilization. So I think, for us is to expand our product line, but always be keeping core to this is a clinician founded, but patient focused company. And then how do we come up with simple technologies that people can just integrate into their everyday lives?
What Vikram just said really resonated with me because I'm on my other YouTube channel, Dr. John Schubach. I recently posted a video entitled something along the lines of, do you have lymphedema? The most common form of leg swelling that doctors miss. And so when he said lymphedema is everywhere, but isn't being seen, that's exactly right. And it's the whole premise, quite frankly, for the LymphCast podcast. And we talk about venous disease, we talk about wound care here, but we elected to make the name of the podcast the LymphCast because it gets so little attention. It's still so misunderstood by clinicians and so forth. And I think another great opportunity for Sun Scientific, they were involved last year at the first annual Vein and Lymphatic Summit. I would love to have them back at the second annual Vein and Lymphatic Summit, which is going to be even bigger, better in combination with the American Venous Forum, Peter Glavitsky chairing it again, because I know this again, and we have a lot in common, Vic and I, and Vic's dad and myself. And Monica knows, having worked with us at Vita Support for years, and the work she did at Servier, raising awareness about MPFF. It takes years of bringing it back in front of the physicians, having those conversations again about what we're all doing to try to move the needle and improve care for patients. So that VLS Summit will be another great opportunity for Sun Scientific to get greater exposure and be in front of, I think, over 1,000 physicians this year. But I empathize because you're just so eager to educate and to see adoption of these ideas, which aren't necessarily new, as you said, but new in many ways to the American physician cohort. And we just keep we just keep grinding away, one meeting at a time, one conversation at a time, one podcast at a time, one YouTube video at a time. It has to be something you're passionate about. And obviously, Vikram, your father is, the team of engineers you've put together, and all the good folks at Sun Scientific. It's very, very impressive because I like to watch Shark Tank a lot. And for me, what you have done is the equivalent of when the people go on Shark Tank with a new soft drink, and all the sharks say, "Oh man, soft drinks, that's a tough area." Now there's a lot of big players in soft drinks, and there's a lot of big players in compression devices. And so I give you all so much credit, but it's a testament. The fact that you're still around and not only surviving, but thriving and growing and doing so well can only be a testament not only to your work ethic and your passion and compassion, but also the quality of the product. No question about it.
Thank you, Dr. Trubak.
Pleasure.
Yeah. I really think, like the solution that you give for the compression, once again, one of the key elements for a lymphedema and for chronic venous disease, that you always can do better. There's sometimes, the little modification, little innovation that can mean a lot for patient, and they can change totally the whole perspective of the treatment, because then patient can really use the product and can be compliant. And the compliance is the key. If you go from I don't know, 40% of compliance up to 80%, that will be huge victory.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because one of the sayings that we always talked about was we were doing this when, veins and swelling weren't sexy. It's the kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of saying, now I think there's just a lot more realization that compression does not need to be the same old. And I think we were really working at coming up with solutions, and it really came out of the compassion for the patient. And it's, and Dr. Chubak, my hat's off to you, because really the amount of time and effort it takes to come up with something where people think that it's saturated, or think, oh my God, there's these 500-pound gorillas or 800-pound gorillas that own that space and have been around for 100 years each. Well, maybe we don't, maybe we need, yes, the problem's been around for 100 years, but maybe we need some more modern solutions that take a fresh approach and really bring to light some of the issues that patients face. And that's really, where we're finding that at least we have a voice, and we're going to continue to talk about it.
Great.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Look at what Elon Musk has done with Tesla. I mean, despite all, whatever political nonsense and so forth, in the face of all the giant car manufacturers, he brought the first feasible fully electric car to the market, and did very, very well with it. And he did that, quite frankly, 100+ years, probably after the first electric car was actually made, which a lot of people don't even realize. But so it's that kind of innovative spirit and dedication to a project that Sun Scientific is demonstrating, and more power to you for doing it. And it's going to be fun, as Diane pointed out. It's going to be not only fun, but exciting and interesting to see what's next in upcoming chapters.
Looking forward to keeping in touch with you guys and showing us. I'm having so much fun doing this, and I appreciate that you having us on or having me on the LymphCast podcast, and looking forward to continuing to collaborate in the variety of different meetings and forums.
Well, we're looking forward to having you be a repeat offender, because we would love to invite you back in the future. That keep us abreast of everything else that's going on with Sun Scientific. So Thank you so much, Vikram, for being on the show. We really do appreciate everything you've shared. And for our listeners, I mean, this could be life-changing information. So thanks once again.
Yeah, and Diane, when you talk about having Vic back, and because we really do appreciate their support, and this is a great forum to shine more light. That's a good analogy, to shine more light on Sun Scientific. Uh, uh, and I think a great idea for a program would be, because you are there and you do have access, if you could get a model/patient who were willing to participate, it would be great to show how these garments actually go on a real individual. And what I would really love for people watching it, again, as a clinician, I love those models that you have behind you, the mannequins and so forth. But as a doctor, I wish that in a year I saw one patient who looked like that one standing on the table with those legs. What I want is for our viewers who are really suffering from these ailments and these diseases, who have disfigurement, edema, etc. I would love for them to be able to see a patient who looked like them wearing the device, putting the device on themselves. I think that would be such a valuable program in education.
So we'd love to do that. That's a great idea.
That's it. So, Paul, why don't you take us out?
All right, another very terrific show. We hope you enjoyed the LymphCast episode 70 tonight. And you can find us at lymphcastnetwork.com. Support us at buymeacoffee.com/lymphcastnetwork. But again, the big ask tonight, if you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's easy to do, it's free, and it will help the show's visibility. If you're not on YouTube, please visit YouTube, type in LymphCast Podcast, find us, hit subscribe. Again, it's free, takes 2 seconds, and we appreciate that very much. Tonight's show has been sponsored by VitaSupport MD. And by the way, the founder and owner of that company is Dr. John A. Chubak. They make lymphatic Formula 1000 and vein Formula 1000. And our other sponsor tonight, Sun Scientific, leaders in patient-friendly wound care and compression. We want to thank Dr. Eicher for being here. She had to leave a little early to tend to a patient. Obviously, Dr. Monica Glavitsky, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me. And it
You
was
bet.
a true pleasure.
And as always, Dr. Diane Chubak, the CEO of the Chubak Medical Group. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Paul. It's been a great show.
Absolutely. Dr. John A. Chubak, before I officially thank you, would you like to give one last thank you to our special guest tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Vikram Ravikumar, and also thank his father, who isn't here with us today, but is one of the great inspirations to his company and to other clinician entrepreneurs like myself, Dr. Ravikumar, who has been a very prominent vascular surgery here in the Northeast for many years. And I admire his pioneering spirit as one of the early clinician entrepreneurs. And as you know, that's a subject that's near and dear to my heart, to have more of our clinicians delve into the world of bringing forth better products, because we're the one in the trenches seeing the patients and knowing what their complaints are, what their likes and dislikes are, what works and what doesn't work, both in theory and then, most important, in practice. So, Vic, thank you so much for being on the program, and congratulations on all your good work, really.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. And the founder and owner of this show, Dr. John A. Chubak, physician surgeon from New Jersey. Thank you, Dr. Chubak, for everything.
Always a pleasure, Paul. Thank you.
You bet. Again, LymphCast, episode 70. Have a great night. Hit up our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time for LymphCast.